Remember Tim Dog? The mystery of his death. Finally solved. Tim Dog, a name that once shook the hip-hop world, was known for his fearless lyrics, bold personality, and his willingness to speak his mind no matter the controversy. Yet while fans remembered him for his music and his influence on the industry, his sudden death years ago left questions that nobody could answer. For decades, the circumstances surrounding his passing remained shrouded in mystery, sparking endless speculation, rumors, and conspiracy theories. Some believed it was an accident, others thought there was more to the story, and every fan seemed to have their own version of what really happened. But now, after years of uncertainty, the mystery of Tim Dog's death has finally been solved, or so the latest revelations claim. In this video, we will take you through the full story, from the highs and lows of his life, the shocking events that led up to his passing, and the emotional and dramatic truths that are only now coming to light. By the end of this video, you will understand why Tim Dog's story continues to captivate fans, why his death sparked so much speculation, and how the latest revelations finally provide the closure that his fans have been waiting for. Tim Dog was more than just a rapper. He was a force in hip-hop, known for his sharp lyrics, unapologetic attitude, and the way he shook up the music industry in the 90s. Rising from the streets with a raw energy that fans loved, he quickly became a voice for those who felt overlooked and unheard. Yet behind the bold public persona, Tim's personal life was far more complex. He faced struggles that the public rarely saw, moments of doubt, pressures of fame, and relationships that were sometimes strained by the demands of his career. Friends and collaborators often spoke about his intensity. When he was inspired, he was unstoppable, but the weight of the industry could sometimes leave him isolated. In the weeks leading up to his death, those closest to him noticed subtle changes. Tim seemed more introspective, quieter than usual, and occasionally withdrawn. While he continued to perform and interact with fans, the tension and stress beneath the surface were becoming harder to ignore. To the world, he was the fearless, outspoken artist who could never be silenced. But in reality, his life had layers of complexity that would soon become critical to understanding the mystery of his death. The day Tim Dog passed away, the news shocked fans and the music world alike. Initial reports were unclear, conflicting, and left more questions than answers. Some sources claimed it was an unexpected health issue, while others whispered about a possible accident. Social media erupted with speculation almost immediately, as fans tried to piece together the fragments of information that had leaked. Friends and collaborators spoke cautiously, often leaving cryptic comments that only fueled the mystery. Even people who had worked closely with Tim admitted that there were moments in his life that seemed strange or out of place. Sudden changes in behavior, late-night calls, and unexplained absences from the studio. Rumors began to swirl that there might have been more to his death than met the eye. The public, desperate for answers, scrutinized every interview, every post, and every story connected to him, trying to make sense of a tragedy that felt sudden and inexplicable. Each new clue seemed to deepen the mystery, leaving fans both anxious and intrigued, and setting the stage for the shocking revelations that would finally bring the truth to light. After years of speculation and unanswered questions, the truth about Tim Dog's death finally came to light through a close friend who had stayed silent until now. According to the revelation, what seemed like a sudden and mysterious passing was actually the result of a combination of personal struggles, stress, and a moment of bad luck that spiraled out of control. In the final days of his life, Tim had been dealing with unresolved conflicts in his personal and professional life, strained relationships with collaborators, the pressure of constant public scrutiny, and health issues that he had kept private. On the night of his death, an unfortunate series of events unfolded that his friends describe as unthinkable yet completely preventable, leaving him vulnerable at a time when he needed support the most. The emotional impact of this revelation was immediate and profound. Fans who had long theorized about conspiracies now had the shocking reality. Tim Dog's death was tragic, real, and heartbreaking, but it was not the result of foul play as some had feared. For those closest to him, it brought a mix of relief and grief as they finally understood the circumstances that had been hidden for so long. The mystery that had haunted the music community for decades was solved, and with it came the bittersweet closure that everyone had been waiting for. After decades of speculation, the truth behind Tim Dog's untimely death finally surfaced, leaving fans stunned and emotionally shaken. Close friends and collaborators, who had long remained silent out of respect and caution, revealed a clearer picture of the events leading up to his passing. In his final days, Tim had been battling a combination of personal and professional pressures that had quietly weighed him down for months. Behind the scenes, he struggled with tension among industry peers, disputes over unfinished projects, and the relentless weight of public expectation. Even those closest to him noticed subtle changes. He became more withdrawn, often skipping social gatherings he normally would attend and spending long hours alone in the studio. On the night of his death, a series of unfortunate events unfolded. According to insiders, a minor disagreement with a close associate escalated, leaving Tim emotionally exhausted and isolated. Combined with underlying health issues and the fatigue from constant touring and recording, he found himself in a vulnerable moment that would tragically define his final hours. Those who knew him described the situation as a heartbreaking convergence of stress, exhaustion, and misfortune, something that could have been prevented if circumstances had been different. The emotional weight of this revelation was immense. Fans who had clung to conspiracy theories or alternative explanations were confronted with a truth that was both tragic and painfully real. Friends and family experienced a complex mix of relief and grief. Relief that foul play was not involved, but grief over the preventable nature of the circumstances and the knowledge of the struggles Tim had endured in silence. Industry insiders remarked that the revelation cast a new light on Tim Dog's legacy, highlighting not only his talent and influence, but also the human vulnerabilities behind the persona. The mystery that had haunted the music world for decades was finally resolved, leaving fans with closure, reflection, and a renewed appreciation for the challenges faced by those in the public eye. The revelation about Tim Dog's death sent shockwaves through the music community and his fan base, leaving a mix of grief, relief, and reflection in its wake. Fans who had spent years speculating about conspiracies or mysterious circumstances now faced the harsh reality. Tim Dog had been battling pressures and struggles that many never fully understood. Social media lit up with emotional posts, tributes, and personal stories from fans sharing how his music had influenced their lives. Friends, collaborators, and industry figures released statements honoring his legacy while acknowledging the tragic circumstances that led to his passing. For those closest to him, the aftermath was deeply personal. Family members found a bittersweet sense of closure, finally understanding the truth, but they were also reminded of the pain and challenges he endured in his final days. Friends expressed sorrow that he had faced these struggles largely alone, wishing they could have intervened earlier. In the music industry, the revelation prompted discussions about the pressures artists face, the toll of fame, and the importance of mental and emotional support behind the scenes. Tim Dog's story became a cautionary tale about how quickly personal struggles can escalate and how vital it is to pay attention to the signs of someone silently struggling. Even months later, the public continued to reflect on his life and the lessons from his untimely death. His music regained attention, not only for its energy and influence, but also as a reminder of the person behind the persona, the human being who faced pressures unseen by the world. The mystery had been solved, but the emotional impact lingered, sparking conversations about legacy, support, and the often hidden challenges of life in the spotlight. For fans, Tim Dog's memory remained vibrant, bittersweet, and a powerful reminder of the importance of empathy, understanding, and truth. The revelation about Tim Dog's death sent ripples far beyond the music world, igniting a wave of emotions among fans, friends, family, and the broader hip-hop community. For decades, his passing had been shrouded in mystery, leaving admirers with unanswered questions and speculation that ranged from wild conspiracy theories to theories about accidents or health problems. Now, finally, with the truth out, fans were forced to confront the reality of his struggles and the tragic circumstances surrounding his final hours. Social media platforms overflowed with heartfelt tributes, stories of personal impact, and reflections on the influence of his music. Fans shared posts about how his songs had given them confidence, comfort, or inspiration, often accompanied by shock or sadness that someone who seemed so strong on the outside had faced such profound pressures in private. For Tim Dog's family, the aftermath was deeply emotional. The truth brought a measure of closure, helping them understand exactly what happened, but it also reopened old wounds, reminding them of the pain and challenges he endured without their knowledge. Friends and collaborators expressed a similar mix of sorrow and regret, grieving not only the loss, but also wishing they had been able to provide support or intervene before it was too late. The revelation sparked conversations within the music industry about the hidden pressures artists face: constant public scrutiny, the need to maintain a persona, strained relationships, and the mental toll of fame. Many insiders use Tim Dog's story as a cautionary tale, emphasizing the importance of emotional support networks and mental health awareness for artists who may appear strong outwardly but are silently struggling. Moreover, the public reaction highlighted the enduring legacy of Tim Dog's career. Fans revisited his music with renewed respect, not only appreciating his talent and impact on hip-hop culture, but also seeing him as a human being who had endured real struggles. Documentaries, articles, and podcasts began analyzing his life and career, often blending admiration with reflection on the pressures that contributed to his untimely death. Even months later, conversations continued. Some fans expressed relief that foul play was not involved, while others grappled with the tragic reality that his struggles were largely invisible to the public eye. The combination of grief, admiration, and understanding created a complex but meaningful aftermath, solidifying Tim Dog's story as both a celebration of his life and a solemn reminder of the hidden battles many face. Ultimately, the fallout from the revelation was not just emotional. It was a shift in how people perceived his legacy. Tim Dog was no longer just the bold, outspoken rapper who challenged the industry. He became a symbol of resilience, vulnerability, and the human cost of life in the spotlight. The story of his death, now clarified, resonated deeply with fans, friends, and future generations, leaving a lasting impact that went beyond music and fame. Tim Dog's story and the recent revelation about his death offer more than just closure. They provide important lessons about fame, pressure, and the hidden struggles that public figures often face. For years, fans had speculated wildly about what caused his passing, creating theories that range from conspiracies to rumors of foul play. The truth, however, shows a more human side of the story. A talented and influential artist who faced overwhelming pressures, private struggles, and moments of vulnerability that the world never saw. It reminds us that no matter how strong or confident someone appears publicly, they may be quietly fighting battles behind the scenes. The revelation also highlights the power and impact of public perception. Tim Dog's persona, which had always been bold, fearless, and outspoken, masked the complexity of his private life. When private struggles collide with public scrutiny, the result can be isolating and emotionally taxing, as it was in his final days. For fans and industry observers, this serves as a stark reminder to look beyond the surface and recognize the human side of those we admire. Finally, Tim Dog's story emphasizes the importance of support, awareness, and empathy. Friends, family, and colleagues play a vital role in noticing when someone is struggling, and reaching out can sometimes prevent tragedy. While the revelation brings closure, it also sparks reflection on how society treats public figures, the pressures of maintaining an image, and the need to prioritize mental and emotional health. Tim Dog's legacy is now not only his music and cultural influence, but also a cautionary tale about the hidden costs of fame and the importance of understanding, compassion, and truth in preserving the human behind the persona. In the end, the truth about Tim Dog's death brings both closure and heartbreak. For decades, fans wondered, speculated, and mourned, searching for answers that now finally exist. But the weight of those answers is heavy. Behind the bold, fearless persona that captivated the hip-hop world was a man who quietly carried burdens many could never imagine. The revelation of his struggles, the pressures he endured, and the moments of vulnerability he hid from the world makes his loss feel even more profound. It's a reminder that fame can never shield someone from pain, and that even those who seem strongest may be quietly fighting battles we never see. For his fans, the music was only part of who Tim Dog was. The real person, with hopes, fears, and dreams, is what we now understand and mourn. Friends and family grieve not only the void of his absence, but also the struggles he faced alone, wishing they could have been there to lift some of the weight he bore. The hip-hop community reflects with a mix of sorrow and admiration, honoring not just his talent but his resilience in the face of relentless pressures. Tim Dog's legacy now carries a deeper meaning. It is not just about the music, the controversies, or the bold statements he made. It's about the human story behind the stage, the laughter and the pain, the victories and the battles that went unseen. His life and the truth of his passing reminds us to cherish those around us, to notice when someone is struggling, and to offer compassion before it's too late. While the world lost a legend, the lessons from his life live on, etched in his music, in the hearts of his fans, and in the awareness of the fragility and beauty of life itself. Tim Dog may be gone, but he is not forgotten. His story leaves us with sorrow, reflection, and a profound emotional connection to the man behind the music, a connection that ensures his memory will continue to inspire, caution, and move people for generations to come. In the end, the mystery of Tim Dog's death has finally been clarified, bringing long-awaited closure to fans, friends, and the hip-hop community. What once seemed like a sudden, unexplained tragedy is now understood as the result of personal struggles, hidden pressures, and circumstances that tragically converged at the wrong time. While the revelation does not erase the sadness of his passing, it does allow those who loved and admired him to see the truth behind the story and reflect on his life in a more complete way. Fans continue to revisit his music, not just for the bold lyrics or iconic tracks, but for the man behind the music, a talented, passionate, and complex individual whose life was cut short too soon. Friends and collaborators honor his memory by sharing stories of his generosity, humor, and the inspiration he provided to many in the industry. The revelation has also sparked deeper conversations about the challenges faced by artists, the importance of mental and emotional support, and how fame can sometimes hide struggles from the very people who care most. Ultimately, Tim Dog's legacy is now viewed through a dual lens: his undeniable impact on hip-hop culture and the human story of resilience, struggle, and vulnerability that underpinned his life. While the mystery has been solved, his story leaves a lasting reminder for fans and viewers alike. Behind every public persona is a real person with battles we may never fully see, and the truth, when finally revealed, can bring both closure and profound reflection. Tim Dog may be gone, but the lessons from his life and the truths about his final days ensure that his memory will endure, resonating far beyond his music.